Alright guys, such coming again. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. So much Black Ops 7 action currently going down. So big scrim results last night. OpTic played FaZe over 9 maps, then Boston over 8 maps and went 13 in 4 total map count in a rather different meta than what we've had over the last couple of days. And big changes to BO7 announced last night. Some big tournaments just about to be on the horizon as well. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. So much to get into today. We're going to start here because OpTic officially confirms the location of Major 1. Now, I know it's going to be in Dallas, but some of us thought, is it going to be back in Allen again, right? The last couple of years, the World Championship 2024, this year's Major 2 in Dallas were both held at the Credit Union of Texas Arena, whatever it was, up in Allen, right? 30 or so minutes north of Dallas. Now, I think the World Championship in 2024 was initially going to be held at, I think it was the American Airlines Center, or I don't know, harder down Dallas, but that was going to be a venue that couldn't happen that year. They did it in Allen instead. They ran it in Allen again this year, so I thought, okay, they might run it back. It's a great venue. But no, it's instead going to be at the Moody Coliseum at the SMU campus, Southern Methodist University campus, I believe, which is pretty much right in Dallas. It's just north of Dallas. It's, well, looks like a pretty sensational stadium. I'm sure some of you guys have been there to watch basketball matches, etc. This is the setup. It looks brilliant. It looks similar to some of the other venues that we've had that OpTic have used before as well, but I like going to a different venue, different location. It's going to be more central Dallas than the previous one, which I think is probably better for the attendees. So excited for that. That was made official last night. The other thing that was made official was BO7. I think the tickets, by the way, are coming soon for that. Tickets on sale today, so stay tuned for that one. BO7 patch notes. So they dropped last night. Now, we talked about what they were going to change. They said in their discussion that the implication anyway was that they were looking more towards SMG buffs than they were to AR nerfs. As we said last night, in my opinion, they needed to make the ARs a bit more clumsy and the SMGs a bit stronger from a handling perspective. And that is what we have actually seen. So I think Traixx have genuinely cooked up with this one. The one frustration was around the aim assist. Were they going to make it massively stronger? Now, what they've done is the minimum rotational aim assist penalty has gone down from 35% to 25%. So it's not a massive change. They reduced the minimum rotational aim assist from the beta. They've now made it slightly stronger. That's certainly not in all gunfights across all inputs and all this, but it is worthy of note that it's a little bit stronger, but it's probably not going to radically change the state of play when it comes to the skill gap, which is a good thing. But this is what they've done on the weapon front. The M15 got an official nerf yesterday. Its damage has gone down from 22 to 21. That's its maximum damage range, but the range has gone up. But the medium damage range from 21 to 19, that's a big deal. That's no longer a 5-shot kill. That's instead a 6-shot kill. At those medium damage ranges, that range has been increased, but the damage across that range has been reduced. The same thing at long range as well. So that's what they've done with the M15. To me, the more critical notes are as follows. Sprint to fire time increased. Tactical sprint to fire time increased. Movement speed reduced. Crouch movement speed reduced. Sprinting movement speed reduced. Not massively, but relevantly enough. ADS movement speed reduced, increased first shot recoil. So, you know, these add up, right? These do add up. The changes to the range, it's like whatever. But as I said yesterday, I think the ARs needed to be more clumsy. That is now what they are. And they've done this to basically all the ARs. You can see the MXR, they've done slide to fire time, ADS movement speed has been reduced, but actually slide to fire time has been increased, which is also a nerf. So the X9 Maverick, the DS20 Mirage as well, a similar thing. So the ARs have all got kind of similar handling level nerves, whereas the SMGs is kind of the opposite, right? You look at the Raiden, the range has gone up here, not massive changes, but the ADS speed has been increased, as in, like, made faster, right? There's slightly reduced kick. I actually think the Raiden could be very viable. It's not really been touched right now. We'll see if that changes in due course. The Drazah is the weapon that people like to use. Again, that's had an increase in its range, but I think that if the weapons, like if the SMGs handle a bit better than the ARs, that is one way to make it a better, more balanced scenario. And that, I think, is what we have seen in the scrims last night. We still saw M15s being used plenty, sure, but we did start to see that at least on some maps, 2 Drazahs per team were viable. you know, I even think we could be starting to see a different SMG at some point, but, you know, the pros, they always wanted to use the Drazah M15 since the beta. That is now pretty much where we are. So we'll get back to that in a second when we talk about some of these scrims. Speaking of scrims, OpTic played FaZe yesterday for the first time at a big notable scrim. Says, these are the jerseys. If you guys haven't seen them yet, you can see the FaZe Vegas logo. You can see the pink. I mean, it is very pink. Do we like them? Do we not? I mean, I think it is what it is. I don't know. I saw some real negative reactions to these, but I was like, what are you expecting, right? Like, they rebranded to pink. This is the logo, so it's a pink jersey with the logo on. So anyway, that's what they're going to look like, we think, for the upcoming season. But the scrims got underway, and we also saw JP streaming these from the Codcaster perspective as well, so that was fantastic to watch. There were a couple of clips. I will say, in this game, it's relatively easy to get slammed. If you miss a couple of shots, the aim assist is not particularly forgiving. This was not against FaZe, obviously, because this is against aBeZy when they're playing Thieves. But yeah, he missed a couple of shots and got spun on. There was also a similar thing happening last night with Simp. So the first couple of maps here that were being played, Simp was just like, he was going God mode. I mean, look at this, right? Like, Simp was just absolutely world starring during this raid hardpoint, and well, Shotzzy was getting absolutely slammed the first couple of maps. But let's go through some of these results here. These were the screenshots here from Jake Maverick's stream. Not all of these are perfectly in order, but I'll kind of go through what was going on. So this was the first map they played on the Scar. FaZe won that one. Simp went 37 in 22. The second map they played was this one where Shotzzy was 8 in 23. So, you know, it is funny this, right? Because a couple of scrim maps happen, and all of a sudden the comment section, the Twitch chat is in uproar, like, oh my god, Shotzzy is terrible at this game, like it's cooked, OpTic are cooked and all this. Like, you can understand reading some of these Twitch chat comments why the guys don't stream the practice, right? Like, I don't know, it's fine, it is what it is, and it's never going to change, so it's not like a complaint exactly. I just find it interesting. Like, the pros have to deal with that, right? Shotzzy knows that he's had a bad map here, he's getting clowned in his Twitch chat, but after going down 2-0 to FaZe, they then won 13 of the next 15 maps they played on the day, and well, as I say, they're not perfectly in order here, but we'll just go through exactly what happened. So they put the FaZe boys in 100-point clubs, back-to-back maps. This was 250-94. I think the map before, maybe the map after, was this one, 250-82 on the Cortex, a map that OpTic do really seem to like. I mean, they 50-point clubbed Thieves on it the day before, they 100-point clubbed FaZe on it last night. So they also, yeah, this was the first one they won, 250-220. This was certainly a better map from the OpTic boys. We then had a 250-192 on the Colossus. So they played a ton of hardpoint maps here, right? Then we went on to the Overload. I nearly said Control. Now, this was a great map to watch until the end. There was actually a lot of talk about this map because this was a den Overload. It was 3-3. It was an absolute grueler. It looked like FaZe were maybe going to get the final cap. They didn't. Then it went to an overtime. Now, look, it was 3-3. The FaZe guys, they had the device, and the timer ticked down to 0. So there's a couple of options here. Either you just end the second half at that point, or because, in my opinion, if a player is carrying the device when the timer hits 0, he should be able to keep holding the device, and the round continues until that device is dropped or that player is killed, right? I think that is a better way to do it. Now, there are other options too. You could, let's say end the round and then do a capture the flag type thing where you need to score it in a certain amount of time, and then when you do, the other team gets the same amount of time, like a stopwatch capture the flag overtime that we have seen before. But I do think that the game has to end by a capture, because what happened here, if you guys have seen these overtimes happen in Overload now, it was 3-3, and at the end of the second half, the round continues, but it becomes life-based, right? So it literally became a 4v4. It was just became a round of search and destroy, and the OpTic guys immediately went down. I don't even know if they expected what was going to happen here, but they immediately died and it was round over. And it was so anticlimactic because they just played this grueling Overload map, which was great to watch for the previous 10 minutes. And then it was just immediately over because they played a round of Surge. It was like, well, hang on, it's got to be you've got to capture to win, right? Like, that's the point of the game mode. So, yeah, the game mode has nothing to do with lives until somehow overtime, which makes no sense. Like, the overload, you should have to score it to win the map, right? Certainly in an overtime scenario. That's my opinion. The overload continued because FaZe won that one on the Den. OpTic won this one 5-2, and, well, that was pretty much it. So that was the first scrim set against FaZe. It was 6-3 in the end to them, and, yeah, some other notable maps here. This was that one on the Den that I was discussing. They then went on to play later in the day Boston. Again, these aren't perfectly in order, but these are the screenshots. This was towards the end. They played another Den. They won this one on the overload. And this was a pretty dominant series result here from OpTic Texas. 250-84 on the Colossus. This was actually a masterclass out of Shotzzy this map. I'll play the clip to end out the video because, yeah, that was disgusting what he was pulling off with the Drazah. I think that he's a very happy man, Shotzzy, that the Drazah now looks to be properly back in the meta. It looks like the SMG is totally viable. I mean, Shotzzy and Huke here, I mean, look at those stat lines combined. Given the SMG meta change that we are now starting to see. 250-116 on the Cortex. Again, OpTic really loving that map. 250-101. They did lose a map here, 250-249. It was absolute bang out. Boston, this was the only map they went on to win. They won the raid, 250-130. Again, the overload, this was 5-3 on the exposure. So they messed around with a few things. This was the Scar as well. Most of the maps that OpTic won were very, very comfortable hardpoint wins. So, you know, lots to learn for the teams that they're playing, but certainly right now, OpTic look like one of the teams to beat. Not like all their scrims have been sensational from their perspective. There's certainly been a lot to learn. This is that clip in question that I'll share for you guys right at the end. And, well, he got a merciless, of course, 10 kills in a row, and he was, well, struggling to figure out exactly how to say it. But there's a lot going on right now, and there's a big tournament coming up today and tomorrow that we'll discuss here in a second. Now, there was also some search scrims being played, or some chals, whatever it was. Super was playing something, of course, big search and destroy guys we know from last year. Exnid is incredible with snipers and smokes. So right now, the snipers are allowed, and JP said on his stream yesterday that in the tournament beginning today, there is a rule that you are allowed to use one smoke per team, per round, effectively in search and destroy. That's the way that the CDL have defined their opening rules. I think there's also going to be 6 hardpoint maps and 6 search maps and like 4 control maps in the game right now. So there's a big map pool. They will probably tighten that up and -1 from all of those. We'll see whether they do that when the CDL officially starts. But Super really happy with the current state of things. With snipers, with smokes, he thinks it adds a lot to the game. I would be inclined to agree. From a fan perspective, absolutely, I think we want snipers and smokes in the game. We'll see what the pros decide. Other pros aren't so happy. I saw Mamba tweet out that he was not so convinced this was a good idea. But there's a big tournament happening tonight. Some very notable names. Heretics are not playing with Traixx. He's not there yet. He's got his visa approved, but he's waiting for his passport. Then he's going to be out there. So instead, they're playing with Eric Boom. This is really cool, actually, because Eric Boom, he's taken a big risk this season. He's got out to the States. He's playing in the States in challenges this year, and he's going to have a chance to play with Heretics. You know, you got to wonder, because they could have signed him, right? They didn't need to sign Traixx. They could have signed Eric Boom instead. They bring him back, basically. They've not done, but that is the team for the tournament that is happening today. And that's what Heretics describe. Hashtag take my Vamos. This is the tournament. If you guys are unaware, in a few hours' time, there's a tournament beginning. $75,000 double elimination bracket. This is what the bracket looks like. OpTic play Stallions in the first round. There's many notable games here. FaZe versus Falcons is big. Toronto versus Doug Center Martin. That is big. Scrap versus TJ. You know, it's going to be fantastic. So over the next couple of days, we are going to get an answer to who is the best team in the game right now, as we go into the start of the CDL matches in only a couple of weeks' time. So very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
Sorry, you center. Big statement. What's a Mercules? Am I saying that right? Merciless? What's a Mercules? Am I saying that right? Merciless?